The news of Gene Hackman's death alongside his wife shocked the whole of Hollywood, as his partners in the industry mourned his death. He has built a very successful career and has left a lasting impact on anyone who has come across his work. However, his death is shadowed by an air of mystery, as everyone strives to find out what must have happened in that house, leading to the death of both Hackman and his wife. Recent discoveries by authorities have ignited public interest once again, as a network of tunnels has been rumored to be discovered in Hackman's house, leading to more questions about what he might have been up to. Join us as we explore the content and implications of this new discovery. There have always been whispers about the personal life of Gene Hackman, but nothing could have prepared the world for what police were reportedly to uncover beneath his house. When the police reportedly discovered a network of tunnels beneath the grounds of Hackman's home, with strange symbols and mysterious objects, it caused a firestorm of speculations. The news raised questions as to whether there was more to Hackman's past than what met the eye, and if these disclosures were somehow connected to whatever might have happened in that house, leading to his death and that of his wife. The rumor mill began circulating after an anonymous complaint led law enforcement officials to raid the residence of the deceased actor. What they anticipated to be a normal search of the premises soon turned into something very different. Police were reported to have found an entrance hidden behind a secret wall in the basement of Hackman's house, leading down to an elaborate system of tunnels. The tunnels, as stated in the rumors, went under the property and even beyond, with their purpose still a complete mystery. The walls were also said to have cryptic symbols, which some have tried to trace back to secret societies, ancient manuscripts, or even something sinister. News also states that the authorities found old maps, old papers, and belongings that did not look to be owned by Hackman or someone who was ever linked to him. The fact that these tunnels were found has left people wondering if Hackman ever had something that he was involved in, which the public was not made aware of. Some speculate that maybe he was involved with an underground group, a group that would require secrecy as well as sophisticated hideouts. Others believe the tunnels were built for personal reasons, perhaps for security, but the fact that there were strange symbols and unexplained artifacts highlights that the purpose of the tunnel must have been beyond just security. Many wonder, did he construct these tunnels himself, or did they exist before Hackman got to occupy the house? The darkest theory is that whatever Hackman had been engaged in might have cost him and his wife their lives in the most gruesome way. Officially, their deaths were attributed to natural causes, but the discovery of the tunnels has led some to wonder if maybe there was more to the story. If Hackman had witnessed something threatening, or if he had been in a hidden world that he later wanted to escape, might that have been enough reason for someone to want him dead? There are certain theorists who claim that the strange symbols in the tunnels could belong to esoteric cults renowned for their secrecy and that they do not like betrayal. The mystery has thickened as the authorities have not said anything about what precisely was discovered from the tunnels. Other sources indicate that officials found ancient notebooks, possibly containing Hackman's handwriting, detailing events or concepts that could account for the presence of the tunnels. Others indicate that some things were so bizarre that they were seized immediately as evidence, never to be disclosed. The lack of transparency has only fueled speculation, leading some to believe that there is something law enforcement does not want the public to know. Hackman's friends and neighbors were left stunned on hearing the news of the discovery, adamant that the actor was never a man to be involved in something so heinous. However, there were others who were quick to note how Hackman was always such a reclusive person, a man who valued his solitude and rarely allowed others into his life. Was there then a side to him that those closest to him never came to know at all? Others have sought the answer in his earlier screen performances, observing how often he played characters embroiled in webs of deception, corruption, and underlying realities. Was this coincidental, or did Hackman feel drawn to these roles because they struck a chord in something he had known in life? It is not uncommon for actors to bring some aspect of themselves into a part, And now that the shocking news about his home has come out, everyone is wondering whether Hackman had been subtly referencing something all these years. Perhaps the most chilling aspect of the whole thing is that no one has any idea what will happen next. If the tunnels actually hold secrets that can change the minds of individuals toward Hackman and his legacy, will the secrets ever be revealed to the public? There are those who believe that whatever was found will eventually be covered up, just like many other significant discoveries involving public figures have been covered up. There are others who think that this is only the tip of the iceberg and more will be revealed. As rumors continue to run wild, one question remains in the minds of everyone. What was Gene Hackman doing, and could it have been what killed him and his wife? Until evidence is presented, rumors will continue to run wild, which will continue to deepen the intrigue about the Hollywood legend. With the strange facts about Gene Hackman's home still unfolding, the majority have begun to wonder where his daughter, Elizabeth Jean Hackman, stands in the entire ordeal. Since the discovery of the tunnels, the occult symbols, and the enigma surrounding Gene and his wife's death, rumors have only increased. People believe that the authorities must figure out what Elizabeth knew if she learned anything of her father's life beyond that of an actor. Also, people have been concerned by the fact that she hasn't really been so active in finding out what happened to her father. Gene Hackman had led a very reclusive life for decades, staying away from Hollywood in the moments that led up to his death. Unlike some of his fellow actors, he did not yearn for the spotlight in his older age, but opted to live a quiet life with his second wife, Betsy Arakawa. The reclusive life that he lived made it so that even those who had collaborated with Hackman previously had little information about his life. He only made very few public appearances, and interviews were rarely granted in his later years. Some thought it was a mere preference of an elderly man who already had his time in the limelight, but others now wonder if his privacy was meant to hide something. Elizabeth Jean Hackman, Hackman's only daughter from his first marriage, has been relatively far removed from the public debate surrounding her father. However, after Hackman's death and that of Arakawa under suspicious circumstances, she released a statement revealing that she had not spoken to her father or stepmother in over a month, which didn't really sit well with the public. This report immediately raised questions about the state of her relationship with Hackman. Was this only a side effect of a busy life that kept them separated, or was something else at play? Perhaps she might have been estranged from her father. The fact that a daughter hadn't spoken to her father, especially considering the state of his health at the time, for over a month surprised many. It was interpreted by some as a sign that perhaps the relationship between the two had been severed much earlier before the unfortunate demise. Putting another twist in the tale, Elizabeth was spotted dining at a restaurant one day after police discovered the bodies of Gene and Arakawa. While it is impossible to advise any person how to mourn, the public was outraged at the timing, with many saying that she should have been engaged with putting things in order. Rather than being seen in mourning or even in private contemplation, she was seen out in a trendy restaurant, seemingly living life as she normally would. This clearly didn't sit well with many, and this started another wide speculation on what might have been the issue. Some believed that it implied she had been away from her father and stepmother for much longer than she had admitted. Others interpreted that it might imply that she had some form of prior knowledge regarding something, and that her reaction to their deaths was unusually subdued. Contributing to these suspicions was how eager Elizabeth was to speak to the media. Days after discovering Gene and Arakawa, she was already providing statements and discussing the issue in what people described as a detached manner. While it is typical for members of the family to give statements after the loss of a relative, what did not sit well with people is that she sounded as if she had been waiting to have an interview with the media. Instead of being in mourning or figuring things out behind closed doors, she appeared relaxed answering questions, with some theorizing that she was more concerned about the attention she was getting than mourning her deceased father. This, of course, fueled much speculation about her true relationship with Hackman. If they were estranged, why hadn't she previously made that known? Had she been privy to something, perhaps something related to whatever mysteries were concealed in Hackman's tunnels? And perhaps the most significant question is, had she had any idea what was beneath her father's house? If so, was it because of this that she hasn't really shown signs of mourning? Various theories on these issues soon started to make waves on the internet. A few people believed that Elizabeth's actions were symptomatic of having been absent from her father's life for so long that she no longer had any kind of real emotional connection with him. Others translated the scenario as more nefarious and wondered if maybe she might have had knowledge of, or maybe even been involved in, what killed Hackman and Arakawa. Was her public composure an indication that she had already accepted her fate? Or was it an indication that she had ulterior motives to take herself out of the picture? Despite these presumptions, others came to Elizabeth's defense. They believed that grief affected people differently, and that just because she had not reacted the way that the public had anticipated, it was not necessarily accurate that she did not care. They pointed out that her actions had been open to unfair judgment and that there was no guidebook as to how one should behave after having lost a parent. Others had theorized that her estrangement from Hackman, if true, could have been the result of personal differences and not anything related to the tunnels or the circumstances surrounding his death. However, some questions still remain. Why was it that Gene Hackman and his daughter hadn't communicated for over a month? Had she been aware of the tunnels before they were found? And if so, whom did she believe they were for? Why was she found eating out shortly after her father had died? And why did she appear so eager to speak to the media when others would have quietly wept? Since the tragic scene was discovered, officials haven't really been open with sharing details about their discoveries. Was Elizabeth Jean Hackman merely an estranged daughter who had lost touch with her father? Or was there more at stake in her response? Was her low-profile activity and public appearance a sign of detachment, or just her own coping mechanism? Until further information surfaces, the mystery of Gene Hackman, his tunnels, and his dying days will only intensify, with his daughter firmly in the center of the storm. Following the shocking discoveries in Gene Hackman's home and the strange circumstantial death of both him and his wife, his life is being examined by concerned parties, with an eye toward finding answers regarding why he was leading such a reclusive life. Some discoveries have been made, dating back to Hackman's early experiences. While his immense talent and celebrated career in Hollywood are duly documented, his personal life was seriously marred by deep loss and suffering that would likely have informed his decision to retire from the public eye late in life. One of the earliest strains in Hackman's life was when his father, Eugene Ezra Hackman, abandoned the family. Gene was just a boy when his father departed, leaving an absence that would shape much of his emotional development. In later interviews, Hackman admitted that he could still remember the day his father left, standing in a window, as the man who ought to be his mentor simply drove away. The sense of abandonment left its mark on him, and though he rarely spoke about it, his friends believed it was the reason he never trusted or let people in. As if losing his father in that way wasn't enough, Hackman also lost his mother, Anna Lyda Elizabeth Hackman, in a tragic manner. She had a drinking problem, and her addiction only served to further distance them emotionally. Unfortunately, she died in a fire, a tragedy that will forever be engraved in Hackman's mind. Despite the strained relationship and the emotional distance caused by her drinking problem, losing a parent in such a random and tragic way would have left quite an impact on him, making him wary of emotional bonds with anyone. In his early life, Hackman was drawn to artistic and action-oriented pursuits, perhaps as a way of channeling his misery into something productive. Acting was a type of escape for him, one where he could be other individuals and, temporarily at least, forget about the agonies that have trailed his existence to that point. However, acting was not his only means of escape. He also sought refuge in writing and auto racing. Most forget that Hackman was also a massive motorsports fan, an interest that amounted to competitive weekend racing. There was something in the danger, the focus that it required, and the sensation of being in charge that had to appeal to him, given how little control he ever had over what transpired in his life. Adding to the list of tragedies that he had to face, Hackman also had to deal with the loss of a dear friend. While the nature of this relationship and the fact of his death are not generally known, Hackman is documented to have suffered a severe personal loss in having lost such a close companion. This, combined with other tragedies in his life, perhaps made his tendencies towards isolation even stronger. In a world that had continued to take individuals away from him time and time again, he may have considered that retreating to his own domain was the sole means of peace. After a lucrative career spanning several decades, Hackman retired from acting in the early 2000s. Most believed he simply wanted to spend his golden years peacefully, away from the Hollywood buzz. But with hindsight, it may well be that his retirement was a little more than moving out of the limelight. He had spent most of his life living in a world where he needed to be in the spotlight and interact with people all the time. But in his golden years, he chose seclusion. The Santa Fe home he shared with his wife Betsy Arakawa was their haven, a refuge, where they could close the rest of the world out and live life on their own terms. The home itself was meant to be a refuge, at least as reported, a testament to Hackman's desire for peace and security. Sited in a residential neighborhood, the property was intended to be a retreat home, removed from the noise and distractions of the entertainment industry. Every item was intentionally positioned for a purpose, from the strategic room location to the richly hued furnishings that gave the impression of comfort and sanctuary. To anyone who knew Hackman, it was clear that this home was not just where he lived, it was where he hid from a lifetime of suffering and heartache. But now, with the tunnels beneath the house revealed and the strange circumstances of his and Arakawa's deaths, the world is left to wonder if his retreat into solitude was more than a case of needing to be left alone. Did Hackman know something that others did not? Was he in solitude to protect himself, or was he avoiding a more complex situation? The tunnels suggest depths to his own life that no one understood, and the symbols within them only add to the mystery. As authorities continue their probe, there are more questions than answers. What did Gene Hackman go through in those final days? Was his past somehow entangled by the discoveries beneath his home? And most of all, is there more to learn? The world holds its breath in eager anticipation of learning the truth about Hollywood's most enigmatic man. Until more facts come to light, all that one can do is make wild guesses, looking back at the life of a man who, even after reaching colossal success, never forgot the challenges that he faced in the past until the day of his death. You can check out our channel for other updates on this matter, and we will update you with new discoveries. See you in the next one.